Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, your home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. In today's video, we're pleased to welcome Ryan Steelberg back to the program. He's the CEO at Veritone. They just came out with earnings, plus we're going to be talking about outlook and strategy moving forward. Before we get into it, take a second, hit the like button guys, big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let us know in the comment section below if you've heard of Veritone before or you're currently holding shares. With that being said, let's get into today's interview. Okay guys, that's right. Today's video, we have the CEO of Veritone, Ryan Steelberg, back on the program. They came out with Q3 earnings earlier in the month, but there's a lot of excitement going on in the company in terms of operational updates and contracts. So Ryan, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the program. Great to see you.
It's great to be back. Appreciate it, Bryce.
Yeah, most definitely. The timing, interesting right now. We were just saying the market itself showing some softness, but for Veritone, you guys are really firing on all cylinders. We'll get into that throughout the interview, but in terms of Q3 results, what were some of the highlights or top level numbers?
I think first and foremost was overall revenue growth, right? We've been pretty flat and had some, over the last couple of years, but as we've been sort of communicating and telegraphing, we really thought that last quarter was, third quarter was really going to be the big turnaround time. And we crushed it. Overall revenue was up over 32%. More importantly, our software AI business was up over like 55%. I'm getting into the areas of hyper growth. And it's led by, again, our core AI software and VDR, which we touched on in the last episode. So I think the highlight there is strong, reliable, and really exciting top line growth. Our bottom line growth on a non-GAAP basis was also stellar. We beat the range. We came in very healthy on the bottom line. I think there was a little bit of a programmatic snafu where we did take a legacy non-cash charge. I don't want to get too technical, which I think did impact our GAAP EPS. But to be candid, that was kind of ridiculous. We're kind of disappointed that a lot of the bots picked that up and ran with it. But the reality is, on a run rate basis and on a go-forward basis, we greatly improved our real bottom line, and we expect that to continue. So, in summary, it was a fantastic quarter, and we expect that to continue both top line and bottom line. And again, and it was led by our marquee leader areas of our core AI software. That's aiWARE in our applications, as well as stellar growth in VDR, our Veritone Data Refinery.
Now, I want to get into that a little bit. AI is a buzzword right now. It seems every company is trying to associate their brand with that. You guys really have that ingrained at the core in the DNA of the company. Essentially, the world's full of data. You guys help refine, process, use AI to make that data more intelligent. I want to talk about some of the partnerships, specifically CBS Media. You're starting to attract some major clients here. If you could maybe talk to us about kind of what you're seeing on a macro level in terms of the demand for these type of services, and then more specifically, this CBS Media contract.
We have been around for a while, and we started this company as a core AI company from its inception way back in 2014. And again, where we fit in the ecosystem is there's lots and lots of unstructured data, audio and video data, including that type of asset class that is controlled by the CBSs of the world and movie studios, etc. They're sitting on petabytes and petabytes of this data. But it's messy. Some of it's actually not even digitized yet. It's still on film or tape, like literally in archives. But it is gold. I want people to think about that. All that data, all that unstructured data is like ore, but it needs to be refined, right? And it needs to be, how do I extract the gold out of the ore, right? How do I extract oil out of the ground? That's what we do. And we've been using cognitive AI since our inception, going all the way back to 2014. Obviously, the technologies have improved, both our models and third-party AI models to extract the metadata and frankly tokenize that data has improved, but we've been doing the same thing now going back all the way to 2014. companies like CBS and ESPN and NBC Universal, just we're really talking about in the media and entertainment category, they've been customers of ours for years. Why? Because when you start to work with the best, there's no reason to go anywhere else, right? Our technology, the way we built our platform, aiWARE, is really future proof. So not only can we ingest huge volumes of unstructured data at scale, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of hours per day of audio and video that's being ingested, but we also are continuing to improve our own AI models. Whether that's a third-party model that we can actually deploy on our stack so it can run cost effectively, or it's Veritone's own built and trained AI models internally. Our job is, again, to ingest and in the most efficient, cost-effective, and precision execution method is to produce clean, tokenized metadata as quickly as possible. And once you do that, here's the best part. This is not just about then packaging up and selling that data to a third party like a Meta or somebody else who wants to train their AI models, but our customers get immediate value, utility value from that processing. Here's the best way to explain it. What Google did to the open web back in the day, where they indexed the open web, and you and I basically immediately, almost day one, said, wow, this is incredible. I now can search and get immediate search results on an indexed web. That's kind of at the basic, most rudimentary level. That's what we're doing for audio and video. We're processing and indexing it. So in effect, now you can search, right? Everything kind of, if search is the best proxy of, right, I'll say great indexing, right? But you can search now, CBS News can search through millions of hours of audio and video to find exactly what they're looking for in a very fascinating multivariate way. So for example, show me all footage that has the legendary Walter Cronkite speaking on camera, talking about the Apollo missions, and in the background is the picture of the moon. Oh, and I want to make it more interesting is in an aperture of 10 minutes, find the footage when he talks about the importance of NASA's investment in the mission. Okay, I just went through something very complex in terms of a quote unquote a prompt. That's what you can do brilliantly fast. But now do that. Think of every type of audio and video out there. ESPN, all the movie studios. So again, it starts with the ability to ingest at scale, using cognitive AI to process and index at scale, and then frankly, having the right applications that turns this into value, right? What is the utility? What's the ROI that CBS Media and others can get? And that's what we do as well. So we are the ingestion, we are the AI stack, and we are the end application company that, again, turns this whole process into a turnkey, high-value solution for CBS Media and countless other companies.
Yeah, well said. And it really paints the picture there. So as you're talking about the media or sports media division, I'm starting to think about other industries. You think about military, healthcare, defense, oil and gas, renewables. There's so many industries that have just terabytes of data like this. Where are you seeing the most demand? Is it the media entertainment kind of division, or are you seeing this across the board?
It's completely across the board. Obviously, because of our background, really in advertising technologies and coming from Google, it was an obvious vertical to start in. And frankly, that their most valued asset for media and entertainment customers is their audio video. It's their main product. So it makes kind of sense where we started there. But we were called to look at the government and the military, the Department of War. We were reached out to several years ago by DARPA, the research arm, right, of the department, formerly Department of Defense, now Department of War, frankly saying, hey, guys, you've done such an amazing job in the commercial area. Can you apply aiWARE and your expertise to the unbelievable amounts of messy, unstructured data that our government's producing? And you cannot turn on a television or read an article right now and not see some new sensor that's capturing pictures, imagery, drone footage, video around the world. It is an explosive amount of messy, unstructured data that has to be ingested, it has to be indexed, and then it has to be tokenized in a way that we can now, it's not just for the benefit, let's say, of the Air Force, which is one of our newer, bigger customers, but can the data be normalized and the output of the tokenization be normalized so we can share that? So imagine this use case is some sensors, let's say it's a camera is picking up on the border a potential person of interest or a car crossing the border in the southern border of the United States. As that crosses over, pretty much once it passes the initial sensor and that car, let's say, penetrates into Southern California and travels north, it's gone. But imagine now that if we index that initial hit, we use cognitive AI to build a highly accurate precision hit on that person or car of interest. But then we normalize the data. So as we track that potential hit across cameras and sensors as they travel into Chula Vista and then ultimately into Los Angeles County, we can connect the dots, right? It seems like a completely different use case than what we're doing in media entertainment, but it's actually the exact same technology. So imagine now, if obviously if I'm tracking, so like for example, imagery of LeBron James on one camera angle or on a different news feed or pickup, obviously I can build a model and track LeBron James right across any form of media pickup or broadcast node. So the point here is Veritone has crossed over. We have started to sign multiple different agencies at the Fed level, both domestically and international. We are selling into the UK, we're selling into Ireland and other countries. And we do have over 500 now state and local law enforcement agencies and sheriff departments who are also customers. We're really excited about that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. It seems like kind of that inflection point, or you've got the critical mass now in terms of your platform. Now, talk about aiWARE for a little bit. You've mentioned kind of the full stack, the software, you ingest the data, you come out with the searchable or tokenized results. How does aiWARE fit into this?
I mean, that is the core platform, right? It can run as that full stack opportunity from ingestion, running the AI models, orchestrating hundreds of different AI models, the output and the tokenization, and then ultimately the actual applications are built on our stack as well. It is the full stack. That stack historically has run in multiple public clouds, but we've done a lot of work over the last few years to make it much more portable, the entire stack and the applications. So now aiWARE is readily available in multiple instances in Azure and AWS around the world. Number one. Number two, it's fully deployed and up and running in Azure Gov and AWS Government, including FedRAMP. FedRAMP is the Department of War's secure cloud environment, and Veritone is FedRAMP certified, sponsored by the Department of Justice. And so aiWARE now is fully deployed in FedRAMP, again, both on Azure and AWS. And just to put sort of the cherry on top, it can now be fully deployed completely on-prem or in a network isolated environment. So for example, our deployments that we're doing with the Air Force and the Defense Logistics Agency is an air gap environment. There can be no comms or calls or communications right out of that environment. And so that again, that took a lot of work, a lot of engineering time to I'd say to report and migrate the entire aiWARE stack to that capability. But that's what we've done. And so now, let's just put it this is it's just opened up a much bigger market or TAM, addressable market opportunity for us, is that now I can service our customers where they need aiWARE to run, or if they have data sovereignty, right? As you know, in different countries, data assets can't leave. So obviously we have to take our software and deploy it, for example, in AWS, in Ireland, or in the UK, or around the world. But again, aiWARE, it begins with aiWARE, it ends with aiWARE. It supports all the use cases, and now that it's modular and we can deploy it in any environment, hence why we're so bullish of just an ever-growing market opportunity for us.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, in terms of the growth opportunities here, you've mentioned a number of different sectors, a number of different countries around the world. Where would you say is kind of your biggest focal point over the next few quarters?
I think it's still, I think it's still US dominated. Obviously, for the amount of investment relative to the customers that we're working with, I still think it's going to be our biggest area, at least from dollars coming from international versus U.S. domestic. That being said, I do think that our VDR business, the Veritone Data Refinery, meaning now us processing a lot of this audio and video, and not just turning it into utility value for the CBSs and for state and local law enforcement, which is a great business and still growing in a high capacity. But VDR, the Veritone Data Refinery, where we're now working with the hyperscalers, to the likes of like Metas and others, where they are looking for quality training data, clean IP cleared training data at huge scale. That's a new line of business that we started at the end of the fourth quarter last year, and it's one of our fastest growing revenue segments going forward. So I would say commercial business is very strong. VDR is growing very, very quickly, and we still have a very, very healthy Department of War and public safety pipeline. Again, my pressure on my team is I want execution and I want growth in every facet of our business. But again, I think VDR is going to probably lead the day in terms of hypervelocity.
And just to be clear here, the VDR, you're actually feeding the outputs of all this data that you guys are collecting so they can train their models. Is that correct?
That's correct. There is no need for us in the world to be spending trillions of dollars on infrastructure and data center build out unless we have data pumping through those and we can actually deploy AI models that were built on quality training data. So yes, all these exciting next generation large language or multimodality or generative AI models that you and I use now every day, and there's hundreds of new startups popping up every day, they need training data to train those models. And we are a tier one supplier, at least in the category for audio and video. We expect to be the de facto leader in as their core partner for any and all types of audio video as training data. And that's what VDR is today. And we're very bullish about that business for many years to come.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Now, NVIDIA came out with earnings last night. Obviously, chip data center growth is through the roof. We cover a lot of the AI data center infrastructure developers on the channel here in the Bitcoin or former Bitcoin mining space. They're all telling us this AI trend is here to stay, not a bubble. There's, I guess, obviously critics that are saying it is. What is your stance on that from your position, the demand you're seeing? Where do you see the AI boom going?
There's core underlying value here that is several orders of magnitude bigger than anything we've ever seen in the past. Okay, period. And I'll explain it in a couple different ways. First of all, I went through the dot-com phenomena, right? My first company, one of the first big ad tech companies called AdForce, which I started when I was in school in 1994. We went through it. Thankfully, I started a little bit early, right? So I was able to punch out my business and have a lot of success before the market crashed. But to be clear, you look in rears, was the web a bubble, right? What is the definition of a bubble, right? Was there a lot of companies that frankly had frothy valuations that really couldn't be substantiated? Of course there was. But let's be very clear. Almost everything we touch or experience today now runs basically on the internet, okay? So of course there's going to be ebbs and flows in terms of valuations, and some companies' valuations are very, very high. Right? I mean, and again, if I mention Palantir, right? They have an incredibly high multiple. Does that in any way undercut the value that Palantir, are they a real company? Are they delivering real value to the federal government and defense? 100% they are. Is NVIDIA worth, it's not quite as high a multiple as a Palantir, but that is a true fundamental sound business that the whole world is relying on it. And by the way, what's so interesting about this AI build out and infrastructure build out with GPUs, the demand is in every facet of business and society. Unlike the advertising pull was such a big thing for Google's built out for years, right? It was primarily advertising driven. We all know that, and search demand. The demand for AI and GPU, inferencing, et cetera, the demand is from every facet. Corporations are demanding it. Military, right? You didn't have the military demand for the internet and the web like you're seeing here. And it's worldwide, right? Almost instantaneously. So again, are there certain valuations very frothy? Of course. any normal business or market dynamics, you're going to see equilibrium come to it. But the underlying value, the integrity of that is sound. So very famous people who, for example, shorted the credit default swaps of the past and the Big Short and all that stuff, and it's getting lots of press. Let's be very clear. That there was poison being bundled in a lot of those mortgages, right? Those subprime mortgages, and et cetera, right? There was fundamental underlying flaws that does not exist here. All right. Now, I'll give a little toot on our horn is, some of us, like, companies like Veritone, right? We're trading at what, 3.5, 4 times revenue multiple against other companies that are trading at hundreds of times multiples, right? So I do think investors need to look at that this is not a global just AI trade, right? I think that you need to look and still be strategic on what companies are grossly undervalued on a relative basis. And again, hopefully, when sort of these sentiments shift, that people still understand that there's great opportunity for growth for companies that are, I'd say, grossly undervalued. But again, we're proud to be in the AI space. We're proud to be in the data economy as well. And it's not going anywhere, and it's going to be persistent in every facet of our life for forever, right? The genie is never going back in the bottle.
Yeah, well said. And I couldn't agree more. I think this is a fundamental shift that's here to stay. Now, I wanted to give you the opportunity to close out. I know we've talked about a lot of different aspects of the business here today. It sounds like everything's moving in the right direction. Is there anything we haven't touched on or any closing remarks?
No, I want to keep communicating to investors and continue to just build the brand of Veritone and the excitement. We're doing amazing things. Highlight is, we have real big customers. We have thousands of them. We're not novelty, our aiWARE, and I would say it's not, our deliveries are not proof of concepts, but we run mission critical workloads and functions every day. For those who live in the United States or around the world, if you ever watch ESPN, for example, look at the credits. Veritone's there every night, right? So we're here to stay. We work with the biggest brands. We're growing very healthily now, and we're inviting people to take a piece of ownership in this company. It's great. Hey, Bryce, one other thing. On December 1st, I think it starts at like 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're holding an exciting forum. It's in a webinar form where I'm going to be speaking and then also bringing on some customers. And you're actually going to hear from our head of product, Chris Doe, who's going to walk through all these products and solutions in detail. It should be really, really exciting and informative. And so hopefully a lot of your listeners can join.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure to leave a link to that as well, Ryan. Thanks so much for your time today. You guys, if you have additional questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section below. Hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. We'll talk to you here tomorrow.